Let's go to the New York Times because they have important information that sheds a lot more light on why Donald Trump's compound there in Florida was raided on Tuesday. Headline: Subpoena preceded search warrant ahead of FBI search. Former President Donald Trump received a subpoena this spring in search of documents that federal investigators believed he had failed to turn over earlier in the year when he returned boxes of material he had improperly taken with him upon moving out of the White House, 3 people familiar with the matter said. The existence of the subpoena helps to flesh out the sequence of events that led to the search of Trump's Florida home on Monday by FBI agents seeking classified material they believed might still be there, even after efforts by the National Archives and the Justice Department to ensure that it had been returned. The subpoena suggests that the Justice Department tried methods short of a search warrant to account for the material before taking the politically explosive step of sending FBI agents unannounced to Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump's home and members-only club. 2 people briefed on the classified documents that investigators believe remained at Mar-a-Lago indicated that they were so sensitive in nature and related to national security that the Justice Department had to act. The subpoena was first disclosed by John Solomon, a conservative journalist who has also been designated by Mr. Trump as one of his representatives to the National Archives. The existence of the subpoena is being used by allies of Mr. Trump to make a case that the former president and his team were cooperating with the Justice Department in identifying and returning the documents in question, that the search was unjustified. The Justice Department declined to comment. Christina Bobb, a lawyer working for Mr. Trump, did not respond to messages. It is not clear what precise materials the subpoena sought or what documents the former president might have provided in response. The subpoena factored into a visit that Jay Bratt, the Justice Department's top counterintelligence official, made with a small group of other federal officials to Mar-a-Lago weeks later in early June, one of the people said. So before we go further, let me just kind of explain how this works, because I can tell you based on my reporting on Flint. So, for example, as you know, Status Coup, myself, have been reporting on the Flint water cover-up for many, many years. For politicians or anybody, first, you just issue a subpoena that we're looking for these documents, so we need you to return these documents to us. Could be documents, could be data from a cell phone, whatever. What I think happened here, Trump and his lawyers, they might have complied with the subpoena and returned, whether it be boxes, however many documents, but clearly there is some type of witness or source or informant that the FBI had that reached out to the FBI saying, yeah, they have not honored this subpoena. I have information, an informant or a source. I have information, probably because it's somebody within Mar-a-Lago that works there or is a Trump ally, who knows. I have information that the president has not returned all of the material that he took from the White House, which is classified information. The fact that this raid at Mar-a-Lago, I've never been there, but it's humongous. The folks in the FBI had to have known specifically where to look, because it took less than a day. If they didn't know exactly where to look, this raid could have been going on for multiple days. So Trump did not honor the subpoena based on what the New York Times is reporting. There was more material that he did not return, that he did not, to the letter of the law, to the subpoena, that he did not return, and that is why they raided him. During the same period, investigators were in contact with a number of Mr. Trump's aides who had some visibility into how he stored and moved documents around the White House and who still worked for him, 3 people familiar with the events said. Among those whom investigators reached out to was Molly Michael, Mr. Trump's assistant in the Outer Oval Office, who also went to work with him at Mar-a-Lago, 3 people familiar with the outreach said. Investigators have also reached out to Derek Lyons, the former White House staff secretary, whose last day was December 18th, 2020, and no longer works for Trump, with questions about the process for handling documents, according to a person familiar with the outreach. By the way, it's very, very obvious the Department of Justice leaked all this information to the New York Times. So just so you know, the New York Times sources are, I'm 99% sure, is the Department of Justice and the FBI. Federal officials came to believe that Mr. Trump had not relinquished all the material that left the White House with him at the end of his term, according to three people familiar with the investigation. So what that means, folks, what that means to all the right wingers that are triggered, it means Trump did not comply with the subpoena from the Department of Justice. To be clear, Trump did not comply with the subpoena to return all classified information that he took from the White House to the Mar-a-Lago. Now, remember, the right wing was hysterical for years over Hillary Clinton mishandling classified information. A lot of leftists were hysterical over Hillary Clinton mishandling classified information. Donald Trump took boxes of classified information from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, and he was issued a subpoena, which is not an aggressive. It's legally, that's one of the lesser aggressive moves you could take, to return the material. He returned some of the material, but not all. That is not honoring the subpoena. And frankly, then you have to wonder, if you're the Department of Justice, if you're the FBI, what does he have that he has not returned? Why? What is the motive for not returning the information? And also, there's people, including foreign dignitaries, that go in and out of Mar-a-Lago every day. So, I mean, who knows how he's storing this material, but he didn't honor the subpoena. It's not cheering the FBI. These same people would be cheering and slobbering if Hunter Biden was raided by the FBI. By the way, Hunter Biden should be raided by the FBI. So if you're a neoliberal watching, if you're like a Hillary or Biden stan, I'm not your man. Hillary should have been indicted for what she did with her private server in the basement for the emails. Hunter Biden, frankly, should be indicted. It is clear corruption. I ain't team blue or team red. I'm calling out corruption wherever it is. And we have to be consistent. And I remember I was at TYT. Jimmy didn't have a problem with the FBI then when they were possibly going to indict Hillary Clinton. The right winger is all hysterical right now. I don't recall them having such a grave concern. The FBI is tyrannical when it was against Hillary Clinton, but now it's against Donald Trump. Oh my God, we need to abolish the FBI. It's time for war. Fox News hosts are saying when we retake the House, we're going to abolish the FBI, abolish the DOJ. We're going to hold all these people accountable. Give me a fucking break. There is legitimate reasons to want to abolish the FBI. I give you what they did to Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Black Panthers, Leonard Peltier. If you don't know that name, look it up. He is the longest serving political prisoner in American history, a Native American who has been in prison for 45 years for a crime there is no evidence of having committed. But the FBI has kept him there because if they actually told the truth, it would show that the FBI pinned a crime on this Native American man, who, by the way, is 77 years old with health problems and is probably going to die in prison. So plenty of reasons to want to abolish the FBI. Them raiding Donald Trump's compound because he might have committed crimes, not one of them. So if you want to listen to people like Jimmy Dore who are winking to the right wing, because most of his audience is right wing now, and putting out straw mans that you're cheering the FBI. Yeah, no, you're not cheering the FBI by thinking Donald Trump or other corrupt politicians should be held accountable. All right. Let's read more of the New York Times because there's more revelations in here. Less than 2 months later, about 24 FBI agents intentionally not wearing the blue windbreakers emblazoned with the agency's logo, usually worn during searches, appeared at Mar-a-Lago with a warrant. The club was closed. Mr. Trump was in the New York area. The FBI startled a crew fixing a large fountain, a maid who was dusting, and a handful of Secret Service agents who guard the complex. The search warrant, which again, this search warrant, there is no chance in hell it wasn't signed off on by the Attorney General, the FBI director, very, very high-level officials within the FBI. This had to have been approved at the highest levels of government, and probably the process for this search warrant was not in a day. It probably lingered over weeks. The search warrant was broad, allowing the agents to investigate all areas of the club where classified materials might have been stored. They went through the basement, Mr. Trump's office, and at least part of his residence at the club. After hours of searching, they left with several boxes that were not filled to the brim and in at least some cases simply contained seal envelopes of material that the agents took and were otherwise empty, one person familiar with the search said. The person said the FBI left behind a manifest of what was taken, which was 2 pages long. Mr. Trump's team has declined to disclose the contents of the search warrant. I wonder why. A number of organizations, including the New York Times, are seeking in federal court to have it unsealed. Let me explain why that's really, really important. Trump, who's been pushing this to great effect, very smart political strategy to make yourself the victim, to call this tyranny, to get Fox News and the rest of the right-wing political machine to back you up. He could just show the search warrant. But on the search warrant, any search warrant I've ever known of has the potential crimes on it that they believe you've committed. So the search warrant that Donald Trump has would have on it what crimes they believe he committed. Well, if there are crimes on there beyond mishandling classified information, which again, Hillary Clinton got off of mishandling classified information. If Donald Trump was taken down for mishandling classified information, there would seem to be a double standard there politically. So there's possibly a strong chance that whatever crimes are on that search warrant go beyond mishandling classified information, which clearly Donald Trump would not want out in the public. Some senior Republicans have been warned by allies of Trump not to continue to be aggressive in criticizing the Justice Department and the FBI over the matter because it is possible that more damaging information about Mr. Trump related to the search will eventually become public. When Mr. Trump left the White House after refusing to concede that he had lost the 2020 election and seeking frantically to stay in power, a number of boxes of material made their way from the West Wing to Florida. In the boxes was the mash of papers, along with items like a raincoat and golf balls, according to people briefed on the contents. This is tyranny against Trump. Well, conservatives and Fox News and, the leftists who seem to be running cover for Trump, simple question. Why didn't Trump honor the subpoena? I mean, you don't have to be a top-rate lawyer to know when you could issue a subpoena to people that you don't necessarily think have committed crimes. Plenty of times in legal proceedings, you subpoena people because you want to interview them, not because you think they committed a crime, but you think they have information or can serve as a witness against somebody else that you believe have committed crimes. You could be asking people, subpoenaing people for information or documents, not because you believe they issued a crime or they committed a crime, but you think they have information about another one of your targets that has committed a crime. So in law, I'm not a lawyer, but I've covered, the Flint water cover up and a lot of other cases. Issuing a subpoena is the least aggressive thing the FBI, the DOJ can do. They did not initially act aggressively. They issued a they issued a subpoena for Trump to simply hand back whatever information he had there. Trump defied the subpoena. All we hear about from the right wing is rule of law, rule of law, rule of law. Trump was the law and order candidate, even though he's been breaking laws basically since the 1970s. If you live in New York, you know about Trump's history of money laundering. You know about his connections to the mafia. That's why I said, even when I was at the Young Turks, this whole Russiagate thing is bullshit. It's not that Trump colluded with the Russian government. There was never any evidence of that. I've been consistent that I thought Russiagate was baloney. Not that Russia didn't want Trump to win, but there was never any evidence that Trump actually was working with the Russians to win the election or steal the election. There was a whole lot of evidence, and there was New York reporters who revealed this back in the 90s, that Trump did money laundering. Trump money laundered through his real estate business through Russia, through Saudi Arabia. He's committed crimes for years: illegal tax evasion, illegally inflating your business numbers, et cetera, et cetera. That's why he never wanted to hand over his tax returns, and he's been perennially under audit by the FBI. Under audit under audit by the IRS, which has always been bullshit. So at the end of the day, it's very clear the DOJ and FBI tried the least aggressive, the least invasive approach, and Trump defied them. Now, you tell me how the right wing, how Fox News, how Jimmy Dore, how all these people would react if it came out that Hunter Biden was issued a subpoena for all of his business dealings in Ukraine and all of his business dealings in China, all of his communications. We want emails, we want documents, we want your contract with the board of Burisma that he was on, the natural oil company that he was on the board and getting paid $50,000 a month, basically in a corrupt deal because he was the son of then Vice President Biden. You tell me how they would react if Hunter Biden gave them some of it, but it was learned that he didn't give all of it. You think they'd be hyperventilating about the tyranny of the FBI? I don't think so. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.